Happy Oaktree Day. What's up, guys? Nirazzurri around the world. We are here today to talk about potentially what is officially the last ever day of Inter being owned by Suning and Steven Zhang being the president of Inter. Because, yes, today is the official last day, the deadline. Steven Zhang had to make the repayment to Oaktree Capital for the loan. And as the latest news says, that's not happened. No money has entered the Oaktree bank account. No money has left the Steven Zhang bank account. Well, nothing in the region of the 380 million euros. And as reported by Sky Sport Italia, Inter Milan's directors today have left the club headquarters. No news has come from China. And we are here. There is no sign of the money being deposited. That's hardly a surprise. We know that it was a ticking time bomb that we've been waiting for 3 years. So as for tomorrow, Inter will be owned by an American investment fund called Oaktree. CEO Beppe Marotta and the other club directors, as reported here by Sky Sport Italia, had been busy at work as usual today, but there was no late night for Inter directors. Presumably, had there been any sign of late development, there might see Suning remain as Inter owners. The directors will still be at the headquarters, but by all indications, the club directors were dismissed for the day as usual. Therefore, the countdown is now basically over. Tomorrow should be the day that Suning cease to be the Inter owners. On the other hand, Oaktree will take over as the club's owners, ushering in a new era at the club. However, this is the good news. There won't be any abrupt transitions as the club's senior management is widely expected to stay, which is good. I mean, overall, Steven Zhang, Suning, it's been a great ride. 8 years, only respect from me. Thank you. That's all I have to say. Some people like you, some people dislike you. You know, 2 Scudetti, multiple Coppa Italias, multiple Supercoppas, brought us from the Banter era after the Tohir ownership, which we were bang on in the middle of the Banter era. Worked, spent a lot of money. Overall, the total investment that Suning did is around 800 million euros. Then they brought us back, not to the top of Europe, but close to being a top 10. I think we can comfortably say, I think the rankings, the UEFA rankings, say that Inter now are back to being a top 10 team in Europe, best team in Italy, best team of directors, managers, best coach, and best squad in Italy. That's whether you like it or not, thanks to Suning and Steven Zhang. Although for the last 3 years, it has been almost the case of them being technically the owners and Steven Zhang technically being the president without really being the president. Because when you think about it, especially the last year or so, Beppe Marotta has really been the president when you think about it. And there's people also calling for Oaktree now coming in to make Beppe Marotta president. And I've been saying for a while that, he's basically been the president. He's the one that puts his face to the media, to the interviews, because Steven Zhang, even when he is around, he doesn't really speak to the media much unless it's like, celebrating a trophy or, at the Champions League final. Beppe Marotta is the one that does it, loss or win. He's always there to back Inzaghi, to back the squad. So, it's almost like we've been operating without Suning and Steven Zhang in anyway the last few years. We've definitely been operating without their investment. The loan that they took out, that's the money that's been flowing into Inter to cover losses and pay for everything, the running costs and things, but not directly. Nothing has come directly from Suning or Steven Zhang for the last since the pandemic, since pre-pandemic. And that's my hope. That Oaktree come in and at least they find a new Suning. I want Oaktree, their prerogative from what we hear is to find a new owner because they wanted to see one of the, reasons they gave this loan to Steven Zhang, and one of their conditions was that they thought that Steven Zhang and Suning were going to make their best effort to sell Inter, which, Inter were for sale. We know Bain Capital, Goldman Sachs, multiple these investment banks were part of negotiations, part of, looking for buyers, but the asking price was always too much. But my hope is that Oaktree can find someone like Suning, but hopefully not from China, because the social, not even in that type of way, just social, politically, the economic, situation, and politically, socio-economically, just isn't good with the China and West. It has to be someone, from this side of the hemisphere, just because of how things are politically at the moment. But hopefully they can find a Suning, because as I said, they've invested a lot of money into Inter, and initially when they bought Inter, injected a lot of money, brought in investment. Some of it, even the Chinese investors, they brought in a lot of it, sponsoring our training around with Suning, bringing in other Chinese investors, which actually didn't help us after the pandemic, because then we had to cut the losses on those, because in the books, those Chinese investors never paid, and we actually had to take a loss on that. But initially they brought in a lot, and I think I'll have to cook up a nice video of a goodbye video, and a timeline video of what Suning has done at Inter. But I'm very grateful. But it was time to go. It was time to go for Steven Zhang and Suning. You can't keep getting loans and loans and not repaying them, because even this time he wasn't going to repay the loan. He was getting another loan to repay the loan. How long was that going to go on for? But a young guy. I think he's only just a bit older than me. I think he's 31, 32 years old. Brought Inter forward in terms of digitally as well, revolutionized, brought in Intermedia House, brought things forward. I think there's still a lot of improvement Inter can make on the social media side of things and production side of things. But if you look back to what we were before that, it's a lot better. Brought Beppe Marotta, brought the best management team, director team in Italy. And then afterwards brought the two best coaches possible. They could have brought Antonio Conte, or first Spalletti, then Antonio Conte, and then Inzaghi. And that's the best thing Steven Zhang did, was he said, I don't know F all about football. I'm gonna get the best guy in the business, Beppe Marotta. I'm gonna let him do his thing. That's good delegation. And he also fell in love with Inter. Like, we know this famous picture of him crying after we qualified. This was the moment we left the banter era, and this was the moment I think Steven Zhang fell in love with Inter. La ripresa Vecino, that legendary goal that brought Inter back to the Champions League. Arrivedere le stelle, the tagline of that time, to see the stars again, because we hadn't been in Champions League for a while. And since then, there's been a slow climb upwards, and you can tell he's fallen in love with Inter. We never really got to see his dad ever again afterwards. Daddy Zhang Senior, but Steven himself clearly was attached to Inter. Tried to not lose Inter right until the last moment, even with that childish and very unprofessional press release that he did the other day. Surprisingly, according to the report here, it is Tutto Sport, so take it with a pinch of salt, but it says that he didn't even make a request to Oaktree for a last-minute extension to the loan. Not that I don't think they would have said yes to that anyway, but it's quite surprising. I thought he would have tried, begged on his knees and cried, and tried his best to keep Inter, but it seems like in the end he just had to accept his reality, which I hope he does. I hope that's one other hope I have, is just that I hope Steven Zhang does not make this a long drawn out thing. Do not take things to court. Do not try to challenge Oaktree. I'm not a lawyer, but I really don't see where he would have a leg to stand on legally in terms of trying to dispute this. You owe them money, many stipulations in the contract. There's no way you can get anything from Oaktree on this. And Oaktree, again, I have to reiterate, this is not like Elliott coming into Milan. Inter in a very different position to what Milan were back then, because they were in the middle of their Banter era when Elliott took over. And we have a top team of directors at the helm, which, according to reports, they will be kept, which I think any smart person would do. But also the fact that Oaktree have been at Inter for 3 years indirectly, guys. They've been part, I've talked about it on my previous live stream over the years, they've inserted members in the directors board, I think it's 2, who have been part of the directors meetings, the shareholder meetings. They know about the accounts of Inter, they know how Inter operate, they know about the costs, they know about the losses, they know about the revenues, they know how things run. They've talked to Marotta, they've talked to that team. So they know Inter inside out. They've been preparing for this moment for 3 years, guys. They've known that this was probably what's going to happen. They knew probably as soon as they loaned that money to Steven Zhang, and that's why there was such a high interest rate that this money wasn't coming back. So my hope is that they take care of Inter in the time that they have it, whether it's for weeks, for months, and find the right owner. I am still confident, I'm still positive, but you never know in life, guys. We don't know. It's still uncertain who they're going to sell to, Oaktree. We need to find the right buyer as well. You could end up with someone with a lot of money like Chelsea have, those Clear Lake Capital, and a lot of money doesn't mean we'll be good owners. I want someone that's smart, passionate, but also knows what he's doing, or if he doesn't, does what Steven Zhang does and lets the best in the business handle things. Or when unfortunately Beppe Marotta leaves, hires whoever is the best in the business at the time, when Beppe Marotta finally steps down in 2027. But yeah, guys, I'm sure Steven Zhang at the moment is crawled up somewhere in his room in Nanjing or Shanghai, wherever he is, crying "Hello Darkness, my old friend," or some sort of The Smiths song, or Mad World, or something, very, very sad. But it is what it is. I appreciate him, but it's time for the Oaktree era. You guys let me know in the comments down below. What do you make of all this Oaktree? Are you positive? Are you neutral? Are you fearing that this American investment firm is not going to be good for us? Or did you want Zhang to stay? Let me know in the comments down below. And look out, I'm going to try to do a timeline of Suning's time at Inter. And let's see what this new era brings at Inter. Hopefully, more winning, more trophies, more Scudetti. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And regardless who is the owner, always, Forza Inter.